Hey everybody, Rob here at etrailer.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Westin E-Series round Nerf bars on our 2019 Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Now Nerf bars are going to do a few different things for you. They're going to make it easier so we can get in and out of our truck and not quite have to lift our foot as high as the floor, so it'll be a little bit easier, have better grip, but at the same time it's going to be a styling thing for our truck. We'll be able to pick out the bars that we like the way they look and really give our truck our own look. And our Westin Nerf bars are going to be what I consider to be more of a traditional style. It'll be a 3-inch round tube, and it is going to go all the way from the front of the cab all the way to the back, giving us a step for each door that we have. And our Westin Nerf bars here are going to be made out of a steel, and they're going to be black powder coated, so they are going to resist rust and corrosion extremely well. But what's really going to set these apart from most other 3-inch round Nerf bars is going to be the little details that go into it. Underneath our step here, it's not going to have a cutout, it's actually going to be indented in, so we're not going to lose any of the structural integrity of the tube itself, because instead of cutting that out and putting the pad on, it's going to be molded in, so we're not going to have to worry about any rust, corrosion, or anything getting inside of the tube or losing that structural integrity. And I really like the fact that the end of the bar curves in like that. Instead of just abruptly stopping and having an edge piece here, it just has a nice gradual curve that goes underneath the truck for a nice finished look to it. And each one of the steps is going to be a full 3 inches wide. So it's going to be the full width of the bar, so we have plenty of room to step on it and get in our truck without having to really worry about anything. Another big benefit of Nerf bars or any kind of running boards that you have on your truck is it's really going to save the seat right here. If that step wasn't there, what a lot of people do is they'll reach out with their foot and then just kind of roll out of the truck. Well, after you do that for so long, it really puts a toll on your seat. So instead of having to do that now, we can step up, get on the seat all the way. We don't have to worry about squishing it, and getting out is going to be the same thing. We can actually get up and not have to worry about putting all that wear on our seat right here. And I really like the fact that the bars are going to be that full cab length, so we are still going to get that step at the back seat as well. So if we have kids or just any other passengers, it's going to be a lot easier for them to get in and out of our truck. And to be honest, one of my favorite things about these bars is how easy they are to install. It's going to come with all the necessary hardware, brackets, and the bars, and we're not going to have to drill or modify our truck in any way. And these are definitely something you can do at your house and your garage by yourself. It's not going to require any kind of special tools or anything like that. In fact, let's go ahead and put one side on together. To begin our installation, we're going to start over on the passenger side. Now what we need to do is we need to come to the very bottom of the side of our truck, and if we come in just underneath this panel here, we'll find the body mount that's going to be all the way towards the front behind the front tire. So the front body mount will have this bolt with a really large washer on it. We need to pull that bolt and the washer out. So you want to grab a 21mm socket, and we'll start to loosen it up by hand first. Now these are pretty tight, so you may need a rather large ratchet or a breaker bar to break it loose, but we want to break it loose by hand first and not use an impact, because they've got some Loctite in there. We don't want them to damage the threads or anything else. But once you have it broke loose by hand, we can grab our impact and we can take it the rest of the way out. Now we want to make sure we hold on to the bolt and the washer, because we are going to reinstall these. So at this point we can grab our front bracket, and if we flip it over to the side where it's flat, we'll actually have an F stamped right in there, so we'll know this is going to be the front. Now both sides are going to be exactly the same, so we don't have to worry about the left or right. What we do want to do though is we want to take that large washer, put it on top of our bracket, and then we're going to take the bolt and come down from the bottom and go through the whole bracket like this. So you want to make sure that washer is in between the bracket and the body mount itself. And we just take our bolt, we're going to loosely slide it back into place and at least get a few threads on there by hand so the bracket won't fall down. And then we just want to make sure that our bracket is facing this way, so the flat section is going towards the outside of our truck. Now we don't want to tighten it all the way up yet, but I'm going to take up some of that slack and just run the bolt in by hand. So it's still a little loose. It has some movement, but not as much slack in it. So we just want it to be pretty close to the top, take up some space, but we still have enough movement in there that we can move it if we need to, make any kind of adjustments. Then if we move along down the frame, we'll find another body mount. This one's going to be in the center, and this one's going to be right about where the front door stops. We need to pull that bolt out as well, so we'll do it the same way. Take that socket, loosen it up by hand, and then pull the bolt and washer out. So now we want to grab the center bracket. The center bracket's going to be a really long, skinny bracket that kind of has an angled section at the end. Now you also notice we're going to have a small slotted hole and a large slotted hole. We want the large slotted hole to go towards the body mount, and just like the other one, we want to make sure we put that washer in between the bracket and the body mount itself. And we'll take our bolt, pass it through. Now you do want to make sure that the bracket, the little tabs or U shape to it, is facing down. So we'll take our bolt, and just like the front one, we'll loosely tighten it up, take up some of that slack. Again, you just want to make sure that those tabs are facing down and the angle of the bracket is coming out and down towards the outside of the truck. We can leave these brackets a little loose. I just like to take up some of that slack so they're not so loose and hanging down so far. Now if we move back along the frame some more towards the back of the truck, right about the end of the cab, we're going to find our third and final mounting point. We're going to do the same thing, loosening up the bolt, pulling the bolt and washer out, and then we're going to put in our last and final mounting bracket. Now our third bracket is going to be rather large, and that's because that mount is way up inside the body there. But just like all the other ones, put our washer on top, have our bolt come from the bottom going up, and again you want to make sure that flat section is going out towards the door. It'll be a little difficult to kind of reach everything, but you want to loosely get the bracket in there and at least get a couple threads in place. And we should have enough room to rotate the bracket around, but that way you just have enough room to reach in and get your hand in there, take up some of the slack. Make sure the bracket's not going to fall, then we can let it sit again with that flat section pointing out. At this point we can grab the boards. Now they are going to be labeled with the plastic wrap around them for passenger and driver's side, so you want to make sure you grab the correct one. Now at this point we can see where our boards are going to mount up to the brackets, but it's really long and kind of cumbersome. So what I like to do is get one end started. That way the board can kind of just hang on the ground and be attached up here. So we're going to grab one of the 1/2-inch bolts out of our kit. We're going to follow it up with a split lock washer and then a flat washer. Now this bolt is going to come from the back of the bracket and go all the way through the large hole that's in the center here. And then if we look on our board itself, we can see that we're going to have a threaded hole in the end. So we just want to line these two up and at least get a few threads in place so the board's not going to be falling down or anything like that. We can just make sure that everything lines up. Get a few threads in place. And the rear bracket is going to attach using the same combination of hardware and in the same way. So we're just going to move down to the other end, lift it up, and make sure we can get those holes to line up. Now the center mounting point is going to be relatively the same. We're still going to have a bolt going to the bracket, but it is going to be a different piece of hardware. We want to grab the hex bolt or the button head screw out of our kit. We'll have a star washer, put that over the bolt, follow it up with a flat washer. And we may need to lift up this bracket as well as the boards to get everything lined up, but that's why we left everything really loose. Lift up the bracket. Again, we just want to make sure we can get that bolt started, get a few threads in there, make sure it's not going to cross thread. Just going to get everything real loosely in place so everything will kind of hold itself together. Then we can go back and tighten everything up. You want to make sure you go back and tighten the body mount bolts first for all of them, including the center and the front, and then we'll go back and tighten the bolts holding the board to the brackets. And for our 1/2 inch bolt attaching the ends of our board to the brackets, you want to use either a 3/4 inch socket or a 19mm socket to tighten those up. And for that center mounting location for the cap head bolt, we can use either a 6mm Allen or a 7/32, whichever one you have available. And again, we just want to make sure that it's nice and snug. Now once you have your boards loosely in place, everything's snugged down, you want to verify that they're sitting where you want them to be. And if they are, we want to come back and torque all of our hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. We're going to go back and repeat that for all of our remaining hardware. And once you have all your bolts torqued down, we're going to go ahead and repeat that entire process over on the driver's side. With all that being said, I'm Rob here at etrailer.Com. That'll finish up your look at the Westin E-Series round Nerf bars on our 2019 Chevrolet Silverado 1500.